Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, known as elmencho, was a name that inspired fear across Mexico. His reputation stretched far beyond the borders of his homeland, echoing through the corridors of power and the streets alike. Born in poverty in Michoacán, he was shaped by violence and neglect, not destined for power but forged by circumstance. Growing up in a world where survival was never guaranteed, elmencho learned early that strength and cunning were his only tools. After early years in the U.S. and a drug conviction, he returned to Mexico with a deep understanding of the cross-border drug trade. This experience gave him a unique perspective, allowing him to exploit weaknesses on both sides of the border. Elmencho rose from a small-time criminal to the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG, through ruthless strategy and calculated brutality. He built an empire by outmaneuvering rivals and corrupting officials, always staying one step ahead. Unlike flamboyant traffickers before him, he cultivated mystery. Rarely seen, never photographed, a ghost in the criminal underworld. His ability to vanish made him even more feared, as no one could predict his next move. His leadership combined military discipline with savage violence, demanding absolute loyalty and enforcing it through terror. He transformed his cartel into a paramilitary force, training his men to operate with precision and ruthlessness. Public displays of violence became CJNG's signature, not as random acts, but as psychological warfare to intimidate rivals and the state. These brutal spectacles sent a clear message: opposition would be crushed without mercy. Elmencho's reign was defined by his ability to remain hidden, ruling from the mountains and becoming both a legend and a monster. His story is one of transformation, from a boy in poverty to the most wanted man in Mexico, forever changing the criminal landscape. Both Mexico and the United States saw elmencho as more than just a criminal. He was a symbol of the growing threat posed by organized crime on both sides of the border. To officials, he represented a national security crisis, one that demanded urgent and coordinated action. His cartel, the CJNG, operated like a shadow government, extorting businesses, infiltrating local politics, and carrying out murders with chilling impunity. Their influence stretched from rural villages to major cities, leaving fear and violence in their wake. The CJNG's trafficking of fentanyl and methamphetamine fueled a devastating overdose crisis in the U.S., killing thousands and overwhelming communities. This made elmencho the DEA's top target, and his capture a matter of public safety. In 2025, the U.S. officially designated CJNG a foreign terrorist organization, unlocking powerful new resources and legal tools to hunt him down, and signaling a new era in the fight against cartels. Massive bounties, $15 million from the U.S., $1.75 million from Mexico, made him one of the world's most wanted men, his face plastered on posters and news headlines across continents. Capturing elmencho became a political and strategic obsession, a test of will for both nations, and a symbol of progress in the war on drugs. For security forces, it was a matter of honor and duty, proof that justice could prevail against even the most elusive adversary. For politicians, it was a critical objective, a promise to their people that they would not back down in the face of terror. The relentless pursuit spanned years and crossed borders, driven by the urgent need to finally capture the ghost of Jalisco and bring an era of violence to an end. The CJNG, or Jalisco New Generation Cartel, emerged from the ashes of the Mencho Cartel, rising quickly from the chaos left behind by its predecessor. At first, they presented themselves as vigilantes, claiming to protect communities from rival gangs and promising order, but this was only a cover for their true ambitions. Under the ruthless leadership of elmencho, the CJNG expanded at a staggering pace, operating more like a paramilitary force than a traditional cartel, with access to military-grade weapons, armored vehicles, and advanced tactics. Their open warfare against the Mexican state, including the shocking act of shooting down a military helicopter, sent a chilling message and stunned the nation. The cartel's immense wealth came primarily from the production and trafficking of synthetic drugs, like methamphetamine, but their criminal reach extended much further. They profited from extortion, kidnapping, fuel theft, and a variety of other illegal enterprises, diversifying their income streams. Even the lucrative avocado trade was not safe from their influence, as they muscled in to control this booming industry. This diversified criminal empire allowed the CJNG to buy sophisticated weapons, bribe and corrupt officials at every level, and pay thousands of loyal soldiers, building a formidable army that rivaled the state itself. Their relentless expansion left a trail of blood, issuing brutal ultimatums to local gangs: join them or face certain death. The violence they unleashed terrorized not only rival groups but also innocent civilians, cementing CJNG's reputation as Mexico's most powerful and brutal cartel. The CJNG's meteoric rise marked a new era of narco-terrorism in Mexico, rivaling and sometimes even surpassing the infamous Sinaloa Cartel in both power and brutality. For nearly a decade, elmencho was Mexico's most elusive fugitive, protected by a sophisticated network. He relied on loyalty and geography, turning the Sierras of western Mexico into his fortress. His first defense was a vast network of lookouts, ordinary people paid to report any sign of government presence. Corruption and intimidation ensured police and politicians leaked information, foiling raids before they began. Elmencho avoided technology, used human couriers, and never stayed in one place, making him nearly impossible to track. Repeated military operations found only empty hideouts, fueling his legend as a ghost. Capturing him would require a strategy that could finally penetrate his layers of protection. The breakthrough came from months of intelligence fusion, not a single tip. U.S. and Mexican forces analyzed movement patterns and supply lines, narrowing the search to Tapalpa, a remote mountain region. Satellite and drone surveillance detected unusual activity around a compound, consistent with a high-value target. Operation Geronimo was planned in secrecy, led by Mexico's elite special forces, and supported by the Air Force and National Guard. U.S. intelligence provided real-time data, but stayed covert. The assault was set for Sunday, February 22, 2026, to maximize surprise. Intelligence warned of fierce resistance. Elmencho's security had 50-caliber rifles, rocket launchers, and armored vehicles. As helicopters prepared for takeoff, the forces knew they were heading into the heart of a violent empire. Before dawn, Black Hawk helicopters carried elite soldiers toward the Tapalpa compound. The element of surprise was lost. Elmencho's guards opened fire, lighting up the night with automatic weapons. Soldiers rappelled into chaos, exchanging heavy fire with cartel fighters, using armored trucks and 50-caliber rifles. Helicopter gunships and disciplined ground troops pressed the assault, advancing with grenades and overwhelming firepower. The firefight was intense but brief. The cartel's defenses collapsed under the military's relentless attack. Special forces breached the main building, where elmencho and his guards made their last stand. 4 bodyguards were killed, 3, including a wounded elmencho, were captured. 3 soldiers were wounded, but the objective was achieved. Elmencho was finally in custody. When the shooting stopped, Elmencho was found alive but gravely wounded, his myth reduced to a bleeding man. The military rushed to extract him, fearing a counterattack from CJNG loyalists still in the mountains. A medical helicopter evacuated Elmencho and the wounded soldiers, racing to reach a secure hospital in Mexico City. But Elmencho's injuries were too severe. He died in transit, never facing trial for his crimes. His death ended a billion-dollar manhunt, but denied justice for his victims. The operation's success was bittersweet. There would be no public reckoning, only a body. Elmencho's death marked the end of an era, but also set off immediate new dangers. The cartel he built was about to react with terrifying violence. News of Elmencho's death triggered a pre-planned wave of violence across 8 Mexican states. CJNG sicarios hijacked and burned vehicles, creating over 250 roadblocks and paralyzing cities like Guadalajara. Public transport halted, businesses closed, and fear gripped millions as black smoke filled the sky. At least 14 people died, including 7 National Guard members, as violence spread to tourist hotspots like Puerto Vallarta. Foreign governments issued urgent warnings, airlines suspended flights, and thousands of tourists were stranded. The CJNG's response proved its power endured, sending a chilling message. The monster was wounded, but not destroyed. Official statements from Mexico and the U.S. celebrated elmencho's death as a historic victory. Leaders praised the operation, calling it proof of renewed cooperation and progress in the war on drugs. But security experts warned that killing a cartel boss rarely ends the violence. With elmencho's family imprisoned and no clear successor, a bloody power struggle within CJNG was likely. History showed that such power vacuums often lead to more chaos, as rival factions fight for control. True victory, experts argued, would require dismantling the cartel's finances and protection networks, not just killing its leader. Elmencho's death was monumental, but the future remained uncertain. A hydra with new, possibly more vicious heads could soon emerge.